Just how real is the upset alert this week for BYU? Jake Hatch of Locked On BYU Cougars is here to discuss just that. It's only BYU minus 2.5, according to our friends at FanDuel, Jake. They're going to Cincinnati. It's ripe for an upset. I want to get to that game in a moment. I want to start with this.
Okay.
BYU is one spot in the committee's rankings ahead of Utah. You're telling me one of two things, both of which seem crazy with that being the case. If BYU loses this game, they will not drop. Or you'll drop BYU and Utah together. Or BYU loses this game, they'll be ranked behind Utah with the same record in the head-to-head win. Isn't that crazy?
Yes, but I think the precedent has been set with what we're seeing with Notre Dame and Miami. Honestly, if they lose this game, Spencer, there's a very good chance that you see BYU ranked behind Utah, much like Notre Dame and Miami, despite BYU and Miami having head-to-head wins.
I can't stand it. I don't fully understand it. You know, when the committee is talking about, well, we don't feel like they're in the same group. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. We don't need to play the hypothetical game. It's happened on the field.
Correct. And to your point, I don't know if you saw what Kevin Clark said earlier. So we were recording this on Thursday night. He said it on Feinbaum about the fact that this committee, for whatever reason, Spencer, is rating losses more than they're rating wins. Losses matter more to them than wins actually do. And that's wrong. You need to value the wins and what programs have accomplished on the field versus downgrading them simply due to a loss or two that you may not like.
By the way, that's not even applicable to their own rankings because guess what? Alabama's inside the top 10. Who'd they lose to?
Hi, Florida State.
Florida State? Oh, boy. Yeah, let's...
And that's the other part of it. When you lose matters, apparently.
Oh, 100%. And that's unfortunately been the case for a while. In my rankings, if Miami does wind up at 10-2, I will have them ahead of Notre Dame. I might keep both out of the playoff. In principle, I'm not actually opposed to 10-2 teams missing the playoff because I always, above all else, value the regular season and say I want games to matter. I want us all to feel losses. I want the impacts to be real. And if you can go 10-2, as teams did last year, unfortunately one of those was BYU and missed the playoff, then we keep some of what college football used to be, which is essentially, you know, a 12-week double elimination playoff. That's what it used to be, not what it is, but we'd be closer to that if we leave out this pending car crash of 10-2 squads.
You're right. And I know that BYU fans obviously remember what happened a season ago and feel kind of hard done by. And if it happens again, Spencer, I'm just going to say it'll be BYU's own fault because they have everything within their control right now and they can ill afford a loss at this juncture.
Yeah, let's talk about the possibility of that happening. Vegas, of course, thinks it is very likely. And look, I don't think it's crazy. Because they're on the road. Cincinnati's probably ticked off. They're either ticked off or demoralized. There's no in between. Because going into last week, the Bearkats controlled their own fate to, yes, win the Big 12 and go to the college football playoff. And now they're likely going to do neither of those things because they lost at home to an Arizona team who's good. I wouldn't call them great, but they are good. So when Cincinnati takes the field, what do you expect their team mindset to be?
I think this is a team that's going to come out with a little bit of fire, and obviously they're going to want to bounce back from back-to-back losses to Utah and Arizona. But the issue I have, Spencer, is if BYU jumps on them early, I think they'll quit. I legitimately think if you go out there, let's say BYU takes the ball first, goes down the field and scores, or they get a big turnover early on in this game, I think Cincinnati will just roll over and die at that point. I think they'll just say, okay, you know what? So be it. We're done here.
We can add starting hot to a big key for BYU in this game then?
Yeah, well, so I'll tell you this. Do you know what BYU's record is under Kalani Sitake when they score first in a game by chance?
How many years has Sitake been the head coach?
10 years. They have played 6 such games when they've scored first.
They've played how many?
60.
56-4.
51-9, but still pretty good record though. Like BYU, when they get a fast start and they score first in these games, more often than not, they win these football games, and that's going to be a huge key on the road to keep the crowd out at Nippert Stadium out of this game.
As you and people who know me very closely, Jake, know, I am a junkie when it comes to trivia, and I'm a Jeopardy diehard. So that you could see my interest peak up when I was like, oh, impromptu trivia, yeah, let's go for it. So let's talk further about this game. I think an essential element for BYU, a lot of people, I don't want to call them average college football fans, would say, well, you got to slow down Brendan Sorsby. No. You got to take away the Cincinnati run game. You have got to be able to, including Sorsby, he can move, but it's the Bearcats' rushing attack, I think, that has fueled their success this season for Scott Satterfield and company. And I think if BYU takes that away, I don't even think the Cougars have to run the ball all that well. By the way, this would be a great Mike Leach hypothetical mascot battle, a Bearcat and a Cougar. I need his thoughts on that. RIP forever and always. But I don't think BYU has to go gangbusters on the ground and go for 240 or something like that. I think they just need to keep Cincinnati under 150, and I think BYU's just fine.
Yeah, well, they have Evan Pryor coming back. At least he's probable on the injury report, and that's a big re-addition to the lineup for Cincinnati because him and Taylee Walker have been a fantastic combination of running back, Spencer. But BYU has absolutely got to shut down that rushing attack. You mentioned keep Cincinnati under $150. That's probably a big key to a win here. BYU's whole defense, the philosophy that Jay Hill deploys is that they are going to shut down the run first and foremost. They want to force this game onto the arm of the opposing quarterback. In this case, it'd be Brendan Sorsby, and they'll take their chances. And if you beat them with your arm, speaking of the opposing quarterback, they'll kind of tip your cap to you. But BYU's whole philosophy is to shut down the rushing attack.
Brendan Sorsby is a guy who you could tip your cap to at the end of the day and say, well, you beat us. I think he's played well enough this season to do that. Not last week against Arizona, but hey, that's the past. Welcome to the present. If Cincinnati does win this game, Jake, what do you think it looks like? What plays out that leads to the Cougars' second loss?
BYU turning the ball over multiple times in this game. I really do think that's going to be, obviously, as often is the turnover margin, but BYU, especially this year, when they win the turnover margin, they're near unbeatable. And if they play clean football, they're going to win this football game, it feels like. But I do think that this is going to be a game, if Cincinnati can make it ugly early, because I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but if Cincinnati gets a couple turnovers early, gets the crowd into it, and BYU feels like they're under the gun once again after struggling on the road in the previous road game at Texas Tech, some of those demons may creep back into the mind of BYU players, and that's how I think Cincinnati pulls it off.
It's time, Jake. What's your score prediction?
I've been thinking all week about this, and I think the scoreline we saw last week from Cincinnati and Arizona is actually similar to what I expect to play out in this game. I've got BYU winning at 31-23, obviously covering the spread there, but I do think it's kind of in that realm.
Well, obviously.
Yes.
I, as the biggest BYU hater in the entire world, you can call me the anti-Drake Toll. Cincinnati's doing it. Uh-oh. Down go the Cougars. They're going to fall to 20th in the rankings after they lose to unranked Big 12 Cincinnati, who would not enter into the top 25, I bet. Cincinnati's got it. Cincinnati's got it on lockdown. You can just lock and key, take it to the bank, safety deposit box. Yeah, Bearcats. You know what? 40-20. They're running away with it. Oh yeah, big time.
Let me insert here. Real Cougar fans know what you're doing right now, and they appreciate it.
Yeah, Bearcats, the big Bearcats. That's what we're calling them this week. Jake Hatch, Locked Up BYU, great as always. I'm going to try again with my best bets. Why? Because why the heck not?